After 100 comments, here you go. Check the playlist for past volumes. Dragon Egg Web Novel CH 745 to 753. Alive again with a large and Volk on my back, I fly high above the vast desert. Having left Ha'ani, we're headed towards the kingdom of Ardiza. Right, master. I tilt my head back slightly in response to Atlarch's voice. Aro, Treant. They've gone to stop the giant beast in the forest? Yeah, that's right. I nod my head. I can see a sliver of Atlarch's face. Her expression is mostly obscured by her mask, but her anxiety is clear to see. I feel the same, but for now, all we can do is believe in them. We've succeeded in taking down 2 of the 4 spirit servants that God's voice scattered throughout the world. I killed St. John's in the Holy Kingdom of Liam, and then the hero Ares in the desert country of Ha'ani. Thinking that the Magic Beast King, spirit servant, had probably been sent to Noah's forest, Aro and Treant left to intercept it. Our current aim is the 4th spirit servant, the Demon Lord Baal. I knew from the start that the kingdom of Ardiza would be a likely target, due its connection with me and its large population. After meeting up with Volk in Ha'ani, I learned that he saw the giant spider monster heading in the direction of Ardiza. He told me that Umukoham followed it so she could limit the casualties that its invasion would produce. But there's no chance that Umukoham can do something about by herself. After all, that Demon Lord Baal, if what God's voice said is to be believed, then it is the strongest monster in the history of this world. Surprised? This is the strongest demon lord in all history. Dry-headed glutton King Baal looks kind of funny, doesn't he? The pinnacle of all monsters that have ever existed, and God's voice's greatest masterpiece. Baal will have received the greatest possible support from this world's system. It'll be even fiercer than St. John's or the hero Ares, who I struggled to defeat. It'll be an upper legendary like Ares for sure. Then, once I defeat Baal, I will become the strongest monster in history, and God's voice's new finest creation. My value to God's voice will skyrocket, making it unlikely that I'll be carelessly killed off. God's voice has always been far above me, but I'll finally be able to look them in the eye. Once that happens, my claws might be able to reach their throat. That will probably be the final destination of my journey. In order to save all those in this world that God's voice has toyed with, I will fight God's voice once again. That being said, I'm in a far inferior position. If God's voice ever thinks I am beyond their control, I'll be disposed of before I can pose a direct threat. It's doubtful whether I stand a chance at all. Mia asked me not to inherit her grudge. Of course, battle with God's voice isn't necessarily the only solution. I also need to bear in mind the possibility of negotiating for them to stop interfering with this world. I'm fighting for the sake of those in this world, after all. I'm getting ahead of myself. I breathe a sigh. First I need to defeat the strongest monster in all history, who stands at the pinnacle of this world's system. Then I need to go and kill the Magic Beast King that Aro and Treant are keeping in check. Making God's voice pay comes after. What's wrong? Volk calls out. I shake my head. It's nothing, I was talking to myself, I reply. Then check my status. Ayashia, species, apocalypse condition, normal LV, 156 175 HP. 14,018 14,018 MP, 8,786 11,345 attack, 12,117 defense, 6,687 magic, 7,985 speed, 7,769 rank, L+, upper legendary, divine skills, human realm, LV, Azure realm, LV, Hungry Ghost Realm, LV, Animal Realm, LV, Naraka Realm, LV. Characteristic skills, Dragon Scales, LV9, God's Voice, LV8, Grisha Language, LV3, Flight, LV8, Dragon Scale Powder, LV8, Dark Attribute, LV, Evil Dragon, LV, Automatic HP Recovery, LV8, Presence Perception, LV7, Automatic MP Recovery, LV8, Perseverance of a Champion, LV, Dragon Mirror, LV, Demon Lord's Favor, LV, Demon Eye of Terror, LV1, Domination, LV1, Magic Brainwashing, LV1, Butterfly Dream, LV. Resistance Skills, Physical Resistance, LV6, Fall Resistance, LV7, Starvation resistance, LV6, poison resistance, LV7, loneliness resistance, LV7, magic resistance, LV6, dark attribute resistance, LV6, fire attribute resistance, LV6, fear resistance, LV5, oxygen deprivation resistance, LV6, paralysis resistance, LV7, illusion nullification, LV, instant death nullification, LV, curse nullification, LV, confusion resistance, LV4, strong light resistance, LV3, petrification resistance, LV3, normal skills, role, LV7, status inspection, LV7, scorching breath, LV7, whistle, LV2, dragon punch, LV4, plague breath, LV7, poison fang, LV7, paralyzing claw, LV7, dragon tail, LV4, roar, LV3, heaven's drop, LV4, return to ground, LV2, humanization technique, LV8, wind slash, LV7, neck breaker, LV4, high rest, LV7, auto regeneration, LV6, traveling companion, LV, death, LV8, solar pendant fake life, LV6, holy, LV5, telepathy, LV4, wide rest, LV5, Lin, LV5, holy sphere, LV5, flash that drives away the darkness, LV1, dimension claw, LV7, mirage, LV8, gravity, LV8, dimension, LV8, hellgate, LV6, gravidon, LV8, mirror counter, LV8, ideal weapon LV9, wormhole, LV1, curse knight, LV4, limbo, LV4, dite, LV4, cositus, LV4, doomsday tone, LV title skills, dragon king, LV, walking egg, LV, klutz, LV4, simple fool, LV1, infighter, LV4, best killer, LV8, liar, LV3, evasion king, LV2, chicken runner, LV3, chef, LV4, gutsy, LV4, big eater giant killer, LV5, pottery craftsman, LV4, group leader, LV1, Laplace interference authority, LV8, one who knows eternity, LV, ant king, LV, hero, LV max, dream dragon, LV, demon lord, LV6, final evolution, LV. My level increased quite a bit from my fight with Ares. Even if I'm up against the strongest demon lord in history, I should have enough power to put up a fight. My MP has mostly recovered from 2. I went around healing the wounded in Harmony, which gave time for my automatic MP recovery to work. With it, my MP recovers to full after a few hours out of combat. The rest should recover as I fly. Eventually, the desert fades away, becoming replaced by grasslands. This area's technically a part of Ardeeza too, by the way. Huh, is that so? I hadn't realized we'd passed the border already. I can't see any traces of Baal's invasion yet. It's the biggest country in the world, after all. Most of Noah's forest is treated as part of Ardeeza too. It's a bit late now, but we don't know where in Ardeeza is being targeted. It'll be the royal capital Alban. I'm sure of it. God's voice is a malicious bastard. They'll target the place with the most people, and the one that has a connection with me. Then we're headed in the right direction. Glancing backwards, I look at Volk. He's sitting on my back, a golden sword held ready in his hand. It's Magiatite there, gold Magiatite heart. Due to the benefits from them coordinating together, it seems that Volk is using Magiatite as his primary weapon over me. Ears. Life-cutting Levitine. He apparently tried picking up Ares's divine judge Ascalon, but the giant sword faded away with the hero's death. It was probably treated as part of his body as a spirit servant. Volk lamented, saying that despite it being too large for him to wield accurately, it was a magic sword that surpassed Levitine in power. He seemed remarkably conniving, considering the situation that the world is in. A city comes into view over the horizon, and I turn to head towards it. We're finally reaching human lands. Although Alban is a lot further still, is what I thought, but the sight below shocks me. What is that? Volk mutters in surprise. The entire city is covered in a dark, soft membrane. The streets are crawling with strange black spider monsters. Each has the face of a human on their back, all of them twisted in anguish. There's no sign of any humans alive. The spiders are varied in size, ranging from 2 to nearly 10 meters in length. I focus my attention on one of the largest. Species, Fear Spinner condition, Kin LV, 100/100ths, Lock, Max, HP, 1613 MP, 797. Fear Spinner, a rank monster, the result of a human soul dying in agony being reincarnated into a monster through the power of a skill. I clench my teeth in anger. It's the same as with St. John's. In order to drive me into a corner, God's voice is having their spirit servants wreak paths of destruction through the world. The demon lord Baal is turning the people of Ardeeza into monsters. It seems that the scale of the calamity is larger than with St. John's. The monsters' ranks and levels are also terrifyingly high. The monsters' levels are all marked as being locked. They're the type of monster that have their level set from their creation and don't give any experience when defeated. From what I've learned, anything from rank B up is strong enough to wipe out a city by itself. A skill that can mass-produce max level A ranks is insanely powerful. Staying airborne, I fire off a Dimension Claw. 3 of the giant spiders burst open, spilling their black blood into the street. Right, Master. You shouldn't waste mana. The main body isn't here. At large states matter-of-factly. Are you telling me to leave? There might be some survivors. There might be some who can be saved. Even so, you need to focus on the main body. I understand. Altak is correct. For monsters like these, it's often the case that defeating their creator causes them to disappear. In order to limit the overall damage, I should move on from here. I can't afford the time needed to land here, nor can I spare the MP before my fight with Baal. Even so, can I really ignore the tragedy in front of me? It's probably not only this city that's affected. I can't stop in every town that I see, and stopping for this city just because it happened to cross my path would mean prioritizing it over everywhere else. But, even so, I feel like if I were to abandon this city, I would be losing something important. Making sacrifices in order to prioritize higher objectives is the sort of thing that Lilixira and Mier did in their lives. But both of them seem to hold deep regrets in their last moments. I thought you'd say that. Right, Master is troublesome as always, At Large says, sighing. But that's probably part of why Left Master loved you. Left Master. She's talking about my late partner. A vision of her smiling kindly at me as she fought the ruin runs through my mind. Leave this city to me. That's too risky. At Large is lower rank, but a lot of those spider monsters are A rank. Then, I'll also. Volk stands up, but At Large shakes her head. You'll be needed somewhere else. I won't fall behind against these. At Large jumps from my back, falling towards the center of the city. She spreads her arms upon landing. Thread surges out from her hands, forming into copies of herself. It's her doppelcocoon skill. I know how it feels to be left behind, so I'll definitely come back alive. Go on without me. At Large. I clench my teeth. I was close to having to make a choice I would regret, but she understood my feelings and chose to risk her life in order to push me forwards. Thank you. At Large. Let's survive and meet up again. With Ro and Treant too. I shout with telepathy, then beat my wings to fly towards Alban. 746. The carnage in Ardeeza. Sighed Nina. The kingdom of Ardeeza has been facing a period of upheaval. The royal family died one after another to accident and disease, leaving only the young Princess Kris as the sole heir. But that Princess Kris had been replaced by the Demon Lord. In fact, the Demon Lord was already involved since the beginning of the string of deaths in the royal family. The leader of the holy country of Liam, a country friendly to Ardeeza, Saint Lilixira, quickly saw the truth of the situation and came to the royal capital Alban. As a result of her activities, the monsters that controlled the palace were ousted. Due to the loss of the royalty, it was thought that Ardeeza would soon fall into chaos, but thanks to the intervention of Liam, a council of prominent nobles was established to take control. While the selection of a new king was ongoing, that much was well and good, but when Saint Lilixira vanished while pursuing the remnants of the Demon Lord's forces, the council lost much of its authority, and Ardeeza was once again wrapped in tension. Seeing a chance to expand their influence without the interference of the saint, various nobles prepared to set plots in motion. But then, As the swirling plots were about to reach their peak, a giant black monster appeared. It had the appearance of a gigantic spider with 3 heads. It was an exact match for the demon Lord Baal who had once brought the world to ruin, as described in the scriptures of the holy god religion. The demon Lord Baal cut a path straight to the royal capital, scattering giant spider monsters as it went. All the functions of the kingdom were shut down within a day. The only saving grace was that the demon lord appeared before the conspiracies could come to a head. The royal palace with its tough walls had become a shelter for the citizens of Alban, but even those hiding inside knew that its walls were no more than a comfort against the power of the demon lord. Outside, the sound of collapsing walls and human screams filled the air as the demon lord's subordinates rampage. What in the world is happening? Wasn't the king of monsters only supposed to appear once every few hundred years? Alban is cursed. It's all over. The citizens taking refuge are at their wits' end. Among them is the cat-eared Felis human known as Nina. It's over. It's over. Nina's going to die here. A long pink-eared drapes over Nina's shoulder as though to encourage her as she clutches her head in worry. Befu. The ear belongs to Nina's friend and Peach Ball Rabbit. Both Nina and the Peach Ball Rabbit were saved in the desert of Ha'ani by Ayashia, and experienced a strange journey together with him. After parting with him, they arrived in a town in a remote region of Ardiza, and began to live and work in a small bar called the Katia Pavilion. They were told by the proprietress to visit Alban, with the excuse of scouting out recent trends in the restaurants and bars of the capital, and had only recently arrived. The proprietress hoped that Nina, who knew little of the outside world, could broaden her understanding, but the timing of their arrival couldn't have been worse. The day after they arrived, Alban became the center of the destruction wrought by the demon Lord Baal. We're out of food. Someone go outside and find some. That's suicide. Angry shouts echo through the hall. The feelings of entrapment and the fear of the monsters has frayed at the minds of those taking refuge. Beast woman. Let us eat that fat ball rabbit, Peihiu pointed at. The Peach Ball Rabbit's ears shoot up. No, Tama-chan is registered with the Adventurers Guild as my familiar. Besides, it was Tama-chan who healed all the wounded and kept everyone clean. The Peach Ball Rabbit has their rest and clean magic skills. Moreover, its adorable appearance helped to soothe their fears. But of course, as a non-humanoid, it inevitably became the first target once concerns about food became more pressing. Just because it's a little useful doesn't mean we should keep it fed. Eating it now gives us one less mouth to feed. Please don't eat Tama-chan. Tama-chan is an important friend. If you let Tama-chan go, you can eat Nina instead. Nina desperately holds the ball rabbit. We can't eat a person, even if you are a beast woman. Hey, someone, lend me a knife. I'm going to butcher that fat rabbit. A moment after the man raises his voice, the wall next to him collapses in a thunderous crash. A spider twice the size of a human appears standing in the hole, a twisted face on its back. In an instant, the head of the man threatening Nina is bitten off by the monster. After a moment of silence, the hall erupts in screams. All those inside begin to run away at full speed. Nina clutches the ball rabbit even tighter, despite knowing that she must run. Her legs are frozen in fear. The face on the spider's back screams as it looks down at the bear. I wish I could have seen Dragon-san one last time. Nina mutters as she looks up at the spider monster. Shockwave. A slash comes flying from outside the walls, cutting through the spider. The spider splits in two, black blood spurting from the halves. A tall silver-haired man appears beyond the wall, a golden sword held in his hand. I'm saved. Thank you. Who are you? Still holding the ball rabbit, Nina stares in wonder at the silver-haired man. She had seen humans drive back the smaller spider monsters, but never one of such a large size. I'm the dragon hunter Volk. I've come to deal with the spiders attacking the capital, the silver-haired man says as he swings his sword to clear the blood from it. Have you come from outside the city? I can see that you're strong, but those spider monsters, they're not something that humans can fight. Please look outside. Nina walks to the destroyed wall and gazes out over the city. A spider far larger than the one Volk destroyed is laying waste to the capital. Further in the distance, a spider with the heads of a toad, a cat, and a crowned man can be seen. It is the demon Lord Baal. Currently it is just watching over its subordinates, but if it were to take action, all those in the capital would soon all be dead. Nina could tell that the Volk was an incredibly skilled human who probably stood at the peak of what could be achieved. But even so, she could only think that his coming to Alban was an act of self-destruction. "Don't worry, I'm just an accompaniment." The moment after Volk speaks, the largest of the spiders rampaging in the city explodes in a spray of black blood. At the same time, giant claw marks appear, gouging through the ground where it stood. "No way." "What?" As Nina stares in amazement, the Demon Lord Baal's cat-like head twitches and looks up at the sky. Suddenly, huge claw marks cut through Baal's body. The Demon Lord flies backwards as though slammed by something, losing its balance. A giant black dragon appears at high speed, smashing its tail into the Demon Lord's side. The ground quakes at the impact. The dragon's scales are rugged and dark red, and its horns are curled like a devil. A pale mane runs from the back of its head. Its wide wings have a strange eye-like pattern to them, and its thick tail ends in an eyeball like crystal. What is that dragon? It is attacking the Demon Lord Baal. Nina could see that much. But even so, that was no proof that it was on the side of humans. But, for some reason, Nina felt a strong sense of relief despite its terrifying appearance. The devil-like dragon seemed somehow familiar to her. She herself couldn't make sense of her own feelings. The Peach Ball Rabbit 2 stares at the dragon in wonder. 747, Tri-Headed Glutton King Baal. The sight that Volk and I are greeted by as we arrive in Alban is a scene straight out of hell. Like the last city we saw, the entire capital is covered in a soft black membrane, and giant spider monsters are roaming the streets. There's no sign of the glorious royal capital that I visited once before. In the center of the city, the boss of the spiders is watching over them. Its body is that of a gigantic spider covered in black hair. 3 giant heads are attached to its abdomen. The left head is that of a toad, the right a cat, and the central head is that of a long-eared man wearing a crown. Each head houses a pair of unfocused red eyes. The Tri-Headed Glutton King, the Demon Lord Baal, standing at the pinnacle of a system. He is the strongest monster in history. When I first fought him in front of God's voice, I didn't stand a chance. But now, I've evolved to an upper legendary. I won't lose this time. The only remaining spirit servants are the Demon Lord Baal, and the Magic Beast King that Taro and Treant are keeping in check. God's voice said that Baal was the strongest, so once I've leveled up from beating him, the Magic Beast King shouldn't pose much of a threat. It's not certain that I'll be able to actually fight God's voice, and if it does come to a fight, it'll probably be in a form entirely unlike a battle between monsters. God's voice has control over the system and authority over this world. In a sense, this will be the last time I put my life on the line to fight a fellow monster. Volk and the Magiatite. I'm counting on you to take out the ones in the city. I'll go for Baal. Got it. I swoop down, and Volk jumps off my back and lands on a rooftop below. I fly towards Baal, who remains oddly motionless. Baal still hasn't spotted me at this distance. I had thought he would have noticed me by now, but he's showing no reaction. I'll take the initiative. As an apocalypse, I have upper legendary tier stats, and I'm specialized for offensive power. As long as I can take and maintain the initiative, I should be able to beat even a superior opponent. I'm up against the strongest monster in history. No matter what, it won't be an easy fight, so I can't let this chance go to waste. I'll deal massive damage in a burst and then not let up or give him a chance to recover. I send a Dimension Claw at one of Baal's kin at the same time as I attack him directly. Of the 3 heads, the cat head turns to look at me. But it's too late. Against an attack that ignores space, it's too late to react once I've already moved. Deep claw marks carve through Baal's body, knocking him into the air. I can't let this opportunity slip. Diving down, I twist, slamming my tail into his side. It's a maximum speed blow with all my weight behind it. Despite being off balance, Baal's foreleg moves to block my tail. The impact causes tremors that shake the entire capital. Baal's body is sent flying backwards. I can't let up now. I'll keep pushing until he's dead. As I pull my arm back to fire a Dimension Claw, the toad's mouth suddenly opens. Its tongue lashes towards me. The speed of it is incredible. I try to cut it with my claw, but the tongue deftly dodges and wraps itself around my foreleg. Baal's central head, the crowned man, shakes while spitting something out. It appears to be a hair-thin thread, but my instincts screamed that it would end badly if it were to touch me. But, with my right foreleg restrained by the tongue, my range of motion is limited. I dive down, pressing flat against the ground as the thread passes overhead. Behind me, I catch a glimpse of buildings being sliced apart by the thread. It's the severing thread skill. It's the same as what Atlarch uses. It's fast, precise, and powerful. As soon as my focus drops, I could easily lose limbs to it. The moment of relief I feel at having dodged the thread is quickly overwritten as a burst of bloodlust sends a shiver down my spine. I raise my left foreleg to block. It's another slashing attack. No, this is a claw. My scales are pulverized, and my foreleg bends as I feel my bones break. It's an absurd level of power. If I were to take such a hit head-on, I could be killed instantly. It took me too long to realize how I was being attacked. I thought I was out of range of his claws. Either way, it'll be bad if this tongue keeps me restrained any longer. Gah! The tongue quickly retracts as I try to bite it, releasing my leg. I need to bear in mind that each of the three heads can use skills independently. My advantage was quickly overturned by the sheer number of attacks. Knowing that staying in place would be bad, I leap off the ground and begin flying around Bal at a distance. As I move, I heal the broken bones of my foreleg with auto-regeneration. I thought I had dealt a lot of damage through my Dimension Claw and Dragon Tail, but he looks almost unharmed. The claw wound is already healed, and it didn't look like my tail did much at all. Bal is incredibly tough. I had thought his stats must have been slanted towards defense, but the force behind the previous attack corrected that notion. The difference between our stats must be vast. Did it look to you like I was full of gaps? Wicked smiles appear on each of Bal's faces. That is how much leeway I have. It has been thousands of years since my last opportunity. I must set the stage for battle. After all, this guy, has he retained more self-awareness than Jones or Ares? The evil absolute sovereign, species, Bal condition, spirit LV, 180 lock, max, HP, 16,594 20,805 MP, 14,498 14,609 attack, 13,240 defense, 7,292 magic, 10,500 speed, 8,161 rank, L+, upper legendary, divine skills, Azure Realm, replica, LV, Animal Realm, replica, LV, Human Realm, replica, LV, Hungry Ghost Realm, replica, LV, Naraka Realm, replica, LV. Characteristic skills, automatic HP recovery, LV max, automatic MP recovery, LV max, dark attribute, LV, Grisha language, LV max, demon eye of death, LV max, demon eye of terror, LV max, wild intuition, LV max, miraculous feline belt, LV max, poison sash, LV max, presence perception, LV max, three-headed, LV, split spirit, LV. Resistance skills, physical resistance, LV max, magic resistance, LV max, poison nullification, LV, paralysis resistance, LV max, confusion resistance, LV max, petrification resistance, LV max, instant death resistance, LV max, curse nullification, LV, illusion resistance, LV max. Normal skills, telepathy, LV max, baleful claw, LV max, baleful fang, LV max, dark sphere, LV max, aquasphere, LV max, fire sphere, LV max, twilight thread, LV max, puppet, LV max, severing thread, LV max, beast tackle, LV max, monster hotbed, LV max, roar of insanity, LV max, tongue of the water god, LV max, lightning strike, LV max, rain prayer of the water god, LV max, gravity, LV max, gravidon, LV max, eclipse, LV max, humanization technique, LV max, auto-regeneration, LV max, dimension claw, LV max, tail shed of the war god, LV, feline alibi, LV, choice of the quantum cat, LV. Title skills, final evolution, LV, former demon lord, LV, former magic beast king, LV, Conqueror of Space-Time, LV, War God, LV, Feared One, LV, Tri-Headed Gluttony King, LV, Bound Spirit Beast, LV, Strongest in the World, LV, Emperor of Hell, LV, The Cat That Is Not There, LV, Toad That Eats Kingdoms, LV. Level 180. I was expecting an upper legendary, but I didn't think he would be this strong. It's no wonder he's the strongest in history. Worst of all is that Bal's high attack and fast skills make him the same balanced attacker type as myself. Due to the level difference, I am behind in every stat. I'm not stronger, I can't win a magic duel, and I'd fall behind in a battle of speed. In terms of stats, he's almost a perfect counter for me. There's nothing for me to exploit. Not only is Bal tough, but he also has a wide array of skills that can be activated with no preliminary motion, making each header too much of a threat for me to press an advantage. He even has Dimension Claw. That must have been what he used to attack me earlier. His spider legs probably moved, but I didn't see any preparatory motion. Thanks to its range, difficulty to dodge, and high power, Dimension Claw is my favorite attack, but I didn't expect Bal to be able to use it too. No matter how much distance I put between us, I won't be safe. It's as though I'm constantly within point-blank range of his claws. To think it would cause me this much trouble when I am on the receiving end. Bal, L+, Upper Legendary, Rank Monster, the king of monsters who once devoured the world, and the god of war. It overwhelms its opponents with miracles that transcend time and space. Despite his ominous appearance and status, Bal's species description is surprisingly plain. But this description is enough to convey how terrifying he is. I reigned as king of monsters for 100 years, yet I never found an equal fight. I was sealed away by the world's administrator. I have had opportunity to fight divine skill holders since then, but not one has ever drawn out my full strength. Bal speaks with unfocused eyes. You seem a little stronger than them, but you will be crushed nonetheless. Child Dragon, put your fleeting life to work by breaking the tedium of my immortal existence. Even though we're both upper legendaries, I'm still a fleeting Child Dragon to him. The only one who could ever say such a thing is him. An upper legendary, at level 180. All of his stats are above mine, and he's flush with dangerous skills. His 3 heads make him even more difficult to fight. But of course, I don't plan on dying now. Sorry, but to me you're just the opening act before I beat up God's voice. The 3 heads stop smiling. I'll make you pay for what you've done to the people of this city, you ugly bug. What prattle. The divine skill holder of this era certainly can bark. The brows of the 3 heads wrinkle as they frown in anger. 748, absolute strongest. I fly in a circle around Bal, carefully observing him. His 6 red eyes revolve in their sockets, restlessly peering around. His field of vision is too wide. It might have been true that he allowed me to get the first hit. Catching him by surprise seems near impossible. A lot of his skills are ones I recognize. Eclipse was used by me. It covers the user in dark power, and shoots high firepower beams in every direction. It's dangerous, but the MP cost is high. As long as I can keep my distance, I should be able to outlast it. It's quite likely that he'll never use it, but if he does, I know how to react. Twilight Thread, and Tongue of the Water God, are new to me, but I can guess their effects from the names. They're probably powerful attacks that utilize thread or tongues. But what's most concerning are the last 3 normal skills. Tail Whip of the War God, LV, Feline Alibi, LV, Choice of the Quantum Cat, LV. Spider Thread and Toad Tongues are dangerous, but with such ominous skill names, it might be the cat head that I have to most watch out for. Are you not coming, Child Dragon? Am I too fearsome for you? Bal grins scornfully. You seem to be taking this easy. Isn't a spirit servant supposed to do everything they can to carry out their mission? Spirit servants are incapable of cutting corners with regards to their mission, and if their personality would get in the way, they're reduced to mindless puppets. I've learned the rules by which they operate from all their spirit servants. I've fought before, but Bal seems like an exception. Of course, but I have no need for my full strength to crush you. I know this, God's voice knows this, Laplace knows this, the world knows this. A huge dark magic circle appears with Bal in the center. If you won't come, then I shall begin. Black light spreads out, and my body is pulled downwards by a strong force. He's using Gravity. His magic stat of 10,500 isn't for nothing. Of all the times I have seen gravity used before, this is by far the widest area of effect, and the strongest force. One way to fight gravity is to use gravity myself so that both of our movements are slowed, but against Baal it's clear I'd lose if I were to copy him. He's strong enough that he could shake off my gravity without issue. Dragged down, I kick off the ground to throw myself outside the range of the gravity. Baal charges forwards to chase me. A simple charge with such monstrously high stats is a threat on its own, but the cat and toad heads are also preparing magic. Cositas. It's my skill that summons the ice of hell capable of freezing all things. A wall of ice rises out of a magic circle between us. Baal slows down. He must have realized that charging into it would have ended badly for him. Cositas makes for an excellent barrier. Not only can it hold the enemy in place by freezing them, it can produce a solid wall to control the battlefield. Even Ares's power as a toady wasn't enough to easily break the ice. It excels at both offense and defense, and among all the outstanding skills I gained as an apocalypse, it would be no exaggeration to call it the most powerful. The two magic circles in front of Baal's heads transform into a huge sphere of fire and a huge sphere of water. The spheres are so large that for a moment I don't understand what I'm seeing, but their size is the effect of Baal's massive magic stat on his fire sphere and aquasphere skills. The two spheres shoot towards the Cositas ice wall. They hit at the same time, appearing to combine together for a moment before rapidly expanding. I gasp. The water is being vaporized, its volume increasing 1,000-fold in a massive steam explosion. With a crash, a blast wave rolls over the area. A shock runs through my body. It feels like my insides are vibrating. In the moment that my body stiffens, something sharp stabs into me. It's a fragment of my Cositas. Baal's skill combo blasted apart my Cositas wall. Lunging through the blast, Baal appears in front of me. He slams into me with his entire body weight. Even though I was able to guard with a foreleg, I can feel my ribs breaking as I'm knocked flying backwards. My vision goes black for a moment. The power of even a single hit is too much for me to handle. I clench my teeth to keep myself conscious, and try to fire a dimension claw behind me to ward off a pursuit. But I can't swing my foreleg. A tongue is wrapped around it. The toad got me. A cross-shaped slash cuts my abdomen. Baal must have followed up with severing thread. My abdomen feels warm. I can tell that I'm bleeding heavily. I try to tear through the tongue with my other foreleg, but it quickly retracts. It doesn't seem like I'll be able to catch it. But I've managed to escape from the restraint. I quickly curl my body and roll away at high speed. Baal's dimension claw carves through the ground behind me. If I was a moment slower, that would have killed me. Using auto-regeneration, I slam my tail into the ground to jump into the air, transitioning to flight. This guy is seriously strong. He's fast, his attacks come in rapid succession, and each attack has the power to potentially kill me. It's no wonder he's the strongest in history. I don't have the time to slowly figure out how he fights and learn his skills. In my previous fights, I discovered just how well suited my stats and skills as an apocalypse are for fighting. Even against the toady Ares, it felt like I was the powerful species. But against Baal, even considering the difference in levels, it feels like his species is far stronger than mine. There are no weaknesses for me to exploit in his stats or skills. Oh, this toy is surprisingly sturdy. This is a valuable diversion. You pest on the leash of God's voice. What's wrong with that? By becoming a spirit servant of God's voice, I have escaped the bounds of time and space, allowing me to reign forever as the absolute strongest. As my defeat is impossible, I shall last for eternity. 3 magic circles appear in front of Baal. Red, black, and blue. They transform into fire, dark, and water spheres. Triplicate magic. He plans on testing me again. I catch my breath. I can't fall behind. If I focus on defense, I'll be crushed. No matter how dangerous it is, I need to keep pressing the attack. Despite the difference in stats, there's no way an attack from another upper legendary won't hurt him. My attack power as an apocalypse is plenty high. If I attack hard enough, I should be able to kill even Baal. You seem to be obsessed with being the strongest, but don't forget, human-faced spider. What? It was because you had no potential as a vessel for the sixth divine skill that you were given up on and made into a spirit servant, incapable of growth. No matter how strong he is, it doesn't change the fact that he's an obstacle that God's voice put in front of me to be overcome. Everyone has their own talents. Yours seems not to be fighting, so is your talent trialing your opponent? The six red eyes glare at me. Get out of my way, you relic of the past. I'm not a loser like you. I'm going to bring down God's voice. You fool. It's impossible to fight this world system itself. Baal howls. Because his mind still remains, my provocation is working. But even to this prideful strongest demon lord in history, God's voice isn't seen as something that can be fought. Baal's three magic spheres shoot towards me, aiming for a gap between them. I dive towards Baal. As I dive, I attack with Dimension Claw, but our claws clash against each other between us. It seems our Dimension Claws cancelled each other out. I've no choice but to go all in at point-blank range. Otherwise, there's no way for me to deal damage to him. Moreover, I have that skill. Characteristic skill, Butterfly Dream Revival skill that switches dream for reality. When the user's HP becomes 0, the border between dream and reality becomes blurred. On that occurrence, the user's death is made into a dream, causing them to revive in perfect condition. This skill disappears once used. I didn't want to use it against a spirit servant, but in a hand-to-hand combat against Baal, Butterfly Dream should be quite effective. After all, it effectively doubles my HP and MP. However, when I obtained this skill, the letters were strangely garbled. There's a good chance it's a trap set by God's voice. It would be better if I didn't have to rely on it, but this battle isn't one I can hold back on. The fires of hell shoot towards Baal. He easily dodges them and charges towards me. The ground where he stood erupts in a pillar of flame. He dodged, but the fires of should be effective against him. If he were to now carelessly retreat, he'd fall into those black flames. I've limited one of his movement options. This should give me an advantage. I reach out with my foreleg, ready to tear into Baal with my claws. But suddenly, I feel my foreleg being pulled. The toad's tongue is wrapped around it again. It's the third time now, but I still can't track the tongue's motion. It's ridiculously fast. You can't escape this time, can you? Continuing this torment would be cruel, so I shall end it with this. 3 magic circles appear in front of Baal's heads again. He plans on blowing me up with a triple attribute magic attack while I struggle to escape his tongue. Why do you think I want to escape? Gripping with my foreleg, I pull the tongue with all my strength. At the same time as I'm propelled forwards, Baal's body floats up towards me. I've given up on running around. It's time to commit to a close-range brawl. Aiming at the approaching toad face, I dive with my forelegs held straight in front of me. Idiots are hard to read. I don't know if you think you've outsmarted me, but I don't think such a straightforward strategy will work for long. The toad's head cuts off its tongue and leans back, dodging my forelegs. Using the momentum from my dive, I twist, slamming my tail into the side of the toad's head. I don't need to keep it up for long. Outsmarting you now is enough. A claw mark gouges up through the toad's face. I followed up with a Dimension Claw. The toad's eyeballs revolve wildly. 749, Baal's trap new EE. The crushed toad's face screams. My tail strike and Dimension Claw have done a lot of damage. I know it'll soon be undone by auto-regeneration, but for the moment, I don't have to worry about that annoying tongue. It's simply too fast for me to deal with. The number of attacks Baal can launch at once now is also reduced. I don't have time to carefully strategize. If both of us were to fight at our best, I'd quickly lose to his higher stats. No matter how risky it is, I need to keep pressing the attack while I have an advantage, scoring as many hits in close quarters as I can. Using I produce a ball of black flames above my head. Opposite me, Baal produces a sphere of flames and a sphere of darkness, fire sphere, and dark sphere. The reason he's not using aquasphere, despite clearly wanting to create some distance, is probably because only the toad head can use it, and right now that head is incapable of precise control. Our opposing magical spheres collide, exploding between us. The power of mine appears slightly stronger. Baal is blown backwards by the explosion. I cut through the flames in pursuit. In pure magical strength, Baal is stronger than me. But even though his 3 heads increases the number of attacks he can make, the power of each shot seems a little weaker when he fires them simultaneously. My Apocalypse exclusive, Dite, is powerful enough to push past 2 of his magic attacks. Do you still think you're superior, Spider Monster? You fool. I lured you in. He's a poor loser. But he's not wrong. Without his toad head out of action, I came out ahead in a clash of magical firepower. But that doesn't mean he wasn't thinking of what would come next. 4 of Baal's spider legs are swinging up towards me. At the same time, his human head is shaking left and right. I see a faint cross shape reflecting the light between us. He's using Severing Thread. He rode the explosion of our colliding magic to escape backwards, and prepared to counterattack against my charge. Should I fall back or not? The answer's obvious. Kicking the ground, I twist in the air, evading his Severing Thread, while lunging forwards. No matter what, I can't let this battle become stable. The more time that each of us have to put into our attacks, the more it'll become a simple battle of stats. I need to keep fighting without letting up for even a second. Even if I end up dying to his counterattack as a result, it won't change the fact that it was my best shot at winning. You fool. I'll turn you into scrap meat. Baal's front legs move in different directions. It's a quadruple dimension claw. After restricting my range of motion with a slower Severing Thread, he plans on scoring a certain hit with Dimension Claw. I fold my wings and pitch forwards, rolling through the air towards Baal. I feel claws cutting through the periphery of my body. My scales are crushed and torn. Sharp pain runs through me from several points. But the wounds are miraculously shallow. I lost a few fingers and bones, but auto-regeneration will take care of the damage in no time. The power behind this Dimension Claw was much weaker than before. He probably only wanted to threaten and prevent me from charging forwards. As a result, their Dimension Claws came a moment too late, and their power wasn't maximized. I've once again closed the distance. But Baal is by no means weak at close quarters. Even though his body shape isn't well suited for a fistfight, his physical stats are high, and his 3 heads allow him to use supporting magic. As I dive towards Baal, I activate the magic I've been preparing. 4 masses of light rise from magic circles around me, each forming into the shape of inhuman knights. It's my Curse Knight skill. Normal skill. Curse Knight solidifies mana into the form of a knight bearing a powerful curse. When the knight is struck by an impact or successfully attacks an enemy, it explodes, scattering a curse through the surroundings. In addition to applying the Starvation and Frenzied status condition, if the target's magical strength is low, the curse can cause death or allow the target's body to be puppeted. The 4 knights gallop through the air, charging at Baal from different directions. Each of them are capable of tracking their target independently. Their attack power is also by no means small. The status effects will no doubt be resisted, but even so, their effectiveness should be fiendishly high. They're of course effective at medium range, but I think their true worth will shine best when used in conjunction with close combat like this. Even Baal should struggle to deal with the 4 knights while also fighting me in close quarters. Troublesome skills. Baal cuts through one of the Curse Knights with Severing Thread, and kicks away another with his leg. But the 3rd and 4th impact his body, exploding in bursts of pale flames. The lips of his human face move slightly. It looks like he's keeping the movement to a minimum so I wouldn't notice it. But that was the preliminary motion of Severing Thread. It seems he allowed the 3rd and 4th Curse Knights hit him so he could focus on intercepting me. He plans on counter-attacking with Severing Thread, in hand-to-hand combat. But he's still taking me lightly if he thinks he can hide the activation of his skill. I tilt to the left to dodge his Severing Thread, while reaching out to tear his human face with my left foreleg. But a gash appears in my raised foreleg, cutting cleanly from between my claws to the base of my ankle. The sharp pain turns to heat and resonates deep in my body. What Baal wanted to hide wasn't the timing of his Severing Thread, but the trajectory. The incongruence I felt at his earlier movement was because he wanted to obscure his aim. Knowing that an obvious feint would be seen through, he hid a trap in the details of what he was obscuring. I've fallen a step behind. But this is also proof that he's no longer treating me as his plaything and finally starting to take this seriously. So what if my foreleg is cut in 2? I tighten the muscles of my foreleg to hold the 2 halves together, hastily repairing with Auto-regeneration, as I continue my swing to tear through his human face. As expected, it seems he thought I would lower my left foreleg and attack with my right. He defenselessly receives my claw strike across his face. The human face howls. This must have hurt him. The damage is one thing, but the mental effect must be significant too. I outwitted his toad face while he was still underestimating me to take it out of action, and then forced my way into close range where I was able to deal heavy damage to his primary head. My follow-up claw attack is blocked by several of Bal's spider legs. I want nothing more than to keep up the attack, but overturning the difference in speed and number of attacks isn't so easy. Several of the legs scratch my body, but the damage isn't as much as I was expecting. It feels like his claws are smaller than when I was hit by Dimension Claw earlier. Like with the magic earlier, is his damage being divided when he attacks with multiple of his legs at once? Alternatively, is he holding back for some reason? I've already taken a look at his skills, so I'm probably overthinking this, but it's possible that there's some application not covered by the skill names or explanatory notes, or a combination that I'm overlooking. Of course, I don't think there's a reason he'd go so far to hide his weapons. The toad's face that I had thoroughly destroyed with Dimension Claw has fully regenerated. I only just managed to deal heavy damage to the human face, yet the situation has already taken a step for the worse. The toad's tongue eagerly flies towards me. It wraps around my left foreleg and pulls it to the side, throwing me off balance. This tongue is seriously difficult to deal with. No matter how many times I see it, it's so fast and precise that I don't think I'll ever be able to dodge it. At the same time, several of Bal's legs chase towards me, intent on tearing through my body. Just barely, I managed to block with the claws of my left foreleg, receiving the remainder with my shoulder to minimize the damage. Gravity. A black magic circle expands out from Bal. He's going to suppress me with gravity. I'm in enough of disadvantage physically as it is, so I don't stand a chance of winning in close combat while my foreleg is restrained and while fighting against his gravity. But if I retreat, I'd be giving him time to safely heal the damage to his head. It would also be near impossible for me to escape their gravity without exposing myself to attack. Either option puts me in at a huge disadvantage. Even if I were to use my own gravity, the difference in our stats would just be magnified. But I've already thought of a countermeasure. If I was forced to reset the situation every time he uses gravity, I'd be bearing a massive disadvantage. Even if I need to gamble, I can't let him continue to hold on to such an advantageous card. Hellgate. A black magic circle expands out from me, swallowing Bal along with my surroundings in black flames. The flames form into giant skeletal swordsmen, their hollow eyes fixed on Bal. Normal skill, Hellgate. A type of spatial magic. It calls out to the world of the dead to immolate the enemy with hellfire. The hellfire does not affect the caster. Raising the skill level will expand the scale of the effect. The attack power is high, but an equivalent cost is required. It's a costly skill that even burns through my HP. If I'm attacked while casting it, I could be killed in no time. But the area of effect is larger than gravity, and it allows me to create a field where I have an advantage. Even though he's deployed gravity here, Bal shouldn't be able to stand and fight. The toad head turns away, releasing the tongue from my arm. The tongue quickly wraps around a distant building and pulls. Bal's huge body soars through the hellfire. Are you running? I kick off the ground, chasing Bal. My foreleg is blocked by several of his spider legs, but my claws are able to grip hold of him. Now I'm being pulled along with him. He's escaped the range, Hellgate. But even so, I was able to catch him before he could fully heal with auto-regeneration. Caught you, you spider bastard. Stubborn. Bal lifts his other front legs to try to strike me, but before he can, my left foreleg catches his human face. I feel the lower half of his face crumbling under my blow. That must have done good damage. I try to swing again for a follow-up, but my left foreleg barely moves. Looking down, I see a black thread coiled around it. He must have attached it to me when I hit his face. This kind of thing. I try to break free, but it's stronger than I expected. My arm doesn't move at all. Too bad. My thread won't be broken so easily. One of his spider legs supports his human head, moving his mouth. The thread that spits out sticks to my chest, right foreleg, and hind legs. My freedom of movement is taken from me, my limbs instead moving as Baal wishes. Gah! I try to whip my tail at him to attack, but it too is quickly wrapped in thread. As I become completely unable to move, Baal's toad head stops pulling with its tongue. My body tumbles limply to the ground. Baal's three heads look down at me. His crushed human face reforms, transforming into an evil smile. Repeated attacks are necessary for you to have a chance of defeating a stronger opponent like me. I recognize your bravery to be able to do such a thing. But, of course, all I must do is set a trap with your strategy in mind. That is my right as the strongest. My body stands itself up. It's his marionette skill. It's the same skill that Itlach has, that lets her control those she restrains with threads. This guy, he's not just strong in terms of stats and skills. Even among all the opponents I've fought so far, he's a top-class tactician too. He seemed conceited, but he has the strength to back it up, and he fights while keeping his cards hidden as an insurance. You made me take this a little seriously. To think I would need trickery. I acknowledge that you are decently strong. Well, at best, you're about the third strongest of those who have challenged me and fallen. Baal's three heads each produce magic spheres: dark sphere, fire sphere, and aquasphere. At the same time, I use Dite to produce a ball of hellfire. Baal's three mouths open in mocking laughter. What do you plan on doing with that? Do you intend to cancel out my magic, or will you aim at my body? Either way, there's nothing to fear from your magic now that you've lost control of your body. As Baal says, my Dite would be parried and I'd be torn apart by a direct attack immediately afterwards. Oh, are you going to hit yourself to burn away the threads? If you don't take me by surprise, such self-destructive action is simply the vain struggling of the defeated. You'll be throwing away your HP and MP, and presenting me with a huge opening. Of course, I'm ready to tear you to pieces with my 8 legs. Baal's 3 magic spheres fly towards me. Baal is not only clever, but also maliciously arrogant. He predicts his opponent's intentions and presents them with hope before crushing it at the last moment. He has the intelligence to pull it off. If he also had status inspection, or if Spirit Servant had totally deprived him of his will, it would have been impossible for me to turn the tables. I use Dragon Mirror to shrink myself down, turning to my baby dragon form. The threads are no longer binding me. Characteristic skill: Dragon Mirror warps surrounding light and space to change the user's appearance. Enemies can be lured in, and the user's presence can be muffled. In addition, by combining it with other body-altering skills, the MP consumption can be drastically reduced. Keeping the ball of Dite flames floating above me, I slip between 2 of the magic spheres and charge towards Baal. Too bad for you. Your threads can't hold me. If Baal knew I had such a powerful counter for his threads, he wouldn't have tried to trap me, or presented such an opening after restraining me. He allowed me to activate Dite right in front of him, and pointlessly used all 3 heads to fire magic. 750 - Feline Alibi. Midair, I return to my apocalypse form. The ball of Dite shoots from my hand, flying towards Baal. The flames explode in a wide burst, engulfing the ends of Baal's legs in hellfire. Baal roars. The next moment, his legs scatter through the air. He must have cut them off with severing thread to stop the inextinguishable flames from spreading. I hope you don't think you can get away from me without your legs. I shoot a dimension claw at Baal. A huge gash carves through his human face. Without giving him a chance to recover, I swoop down and strike him with a direct claw attack. His toad tongue stretches out and wraps around my right foreleg. I push through and hit Baal with a third claw attack. Go down. Now, impossible. I'm supposed to reign forever. Why am I being attacked like this? This shouldn't be possible. 2 magic circles appear near Baal. It's Fire Sphere and Aquasphere. It seems he plans on using another steam explosion to blast himself away and create some distance. But unless you catch your opponent by surprise, any self-destructive action is just the vain struggles of the defeated. Baal might not have forgotten his own words, but it seems he's out of other options. That only works if you have some HP left. I put strength into my left foreleg. Baal's human face is crushed. His cat and toad faces are focused on casting magic. All of his spider legs have been cut off and are still unusable. Even as a maximum level upper legendary, He shouldn't be able to survive taking repeated direct hits from an Apocalypse in close combat. My full power swing is repelled by something. It looks like a claw, but much thicker and stronger than the claws of his spider legs. As I thought, you were still hiding something. Be erased. Bells, Aquasphere, and Fire Sphere collide. The expanding vapor explodes. I try to block with the mirror counter I had prepared, but it is easily shattered. My wings absorb some of the blast, but are then blown behind me. A cloud of dust rises. My wings are broken, the bones exposed. But this level of damage isn't an issue. I'll be fine again with just a auto-regeneration. I wasn't able to finish him off, but I was still able to deal a lot of damage. The situation has taken a turn for the better. On the other hand, Bal won't have the same level of conceit. He'll use everything at his disposal to eliminate me. Suddenly, I sense something approaching. Twisting my neck, I cover the area in scorching breath. Something catches fire and burns to the ground. As the smoke fades, its identity is made clear. It's a soft, black film. The same membrane I saw scattered over Alban and the surrounding land. Probably, this is the web of those spiders. Normal skill. Monster Hotbed captures the souls of humans who die in agony and reincarnates them as loyal soldiers. The monsters produced by Monster Hotbed begin at maximum level, and cannot gain experience. I sense innumerable presences approaching from within the dust. Countless human-faced spiders almost as large as me appear. Species, Fear Spinner condition, Kin LV, 135. Lock, Max, HP, 3453 MP. 2379. It looks like he put a lot of MP into them. Each has stats almost as high as that of a legendary. It's an absurdly cheat-like ability. I use Scorching Breath over a wide area to keep them in check, then kill those closest to me with Wind Slash. It certainly is a cheat-like ability, but I don't think something like this will make much of a difference. It's annoying, but the toad's tongue is far more of a threat than all of these spiders combined. Didn't you want to enjoy an even fight? You're getting desperate, aren't you, Bal? As I roar, something strange catches my attention. The visibility is poor and I'm surrounded, so it makes sense that I can't sense Bal. But even so, it's odd that I would lose track of such an imposing presence. Rather than using any other skills, Bal went for that point-blank steam explosion. If he wanted high firepower at close range, I'm sure there was a more focused skill he could have used. Something feels strange in the arrangement of the human-faced spiders. They're moving like they're being commanded, and yet there's one spot in their formation that feels like a gap in their strength. I could only explain this as the intuition I've gained through my accumulated battlefield experience. I twist around as I fire a Dimension Claw into the wrong feeling area. As though space itself has shifted, Bal suddenly appears and dodges my claw attack. He must have seen me begin to swing. Magic spheres are floating already prepared above each of his heads. The spheres fly towards me at once, but his attack is rushed. I easily dodge them. Why? How did you see through it on the first time? The reason I couldn't sense his presence was because he finally decided to use the skill he's been holding in reserve. Normal skill. Feline Alibi isolates the user from the world, causing all attacks to pass through without harm and deceiving all kinds of perception skills. However, activation consumes a large amount of MP. It's a skill that completely erases the user's presence. Apparently Bal reduced the visibility with his steam explosion, sent his foot soldiers to keep me occupied, then used that skill so that he could sneak into range and get a perfect attack. From the skill name, it probably belongs to the cat head. It's supposed to let him evade all attacks. The only reason he was forced to move was because Dimension Claw attacks the space itself. With those stats of his, if I were hit by a surprise triple magic attack, I'd have been killed before I could even realize what was happening. It's nothing short of a miracle that I was able to notice him. Was a feeling of unease produced by the folded space. Is it because you also have space-type skills? Even with my power, can I not control it perfectly? The three heads grind their teeth. Bal, what number challenger am I now? Bulging blood vessels appear in his foreheads. It doesn't look like he thought he'd be pressed this hard. He was probably planning on casually enjoying the fight while relying on Feline Alibi. as a certain kill if needed. Your cards are all used. You've used over half your MP2. Even when you threw away your complacency and tried to kill me with everything you've got, you failed disgracefully. I'll end this now. Threw away my complacency, you say? Being able to choose how I fight is my right as the strongest. You think you've seen my limit? Nonsense. Not once have I fought seriously. With a minuscule effort, I lead monsters to destroy humans and brought the world under my control. But now, to eradicate you, and for that purpose alone, I shall use my full strength. On either side of his body, thick bestial arms emerge. He was already a strange-looking monster, but his appearance now is absurd. Probably, those arms are his favored way of using Dimension Claw. They're clearly a lot more powerful than his spider legs. These hidden arms are probably his ultimate insurance. For someone with so much leeway, you sure act sneaky. Sneaky? For one so transcendental as myself, there is no need to fight lesser beings on equal footing. So then how do you feel now that all your cards are revealed? Bal is silent for a moment, his eyes are peering around as restlessly as ever. But even so, I feel an intense rage behind them. I'll grind you to dust. As though melting into space itself, Bal disappears. Instantly, a strong claw attack runs through my flank. He erased himself with Feline Alibi, and hit me with a Dimension Claw from one of his bestial arms. As I jump to the side, 5 more claw marks carve through the ground where I stood. One of the human-faced spiders is caught in the attack and bursts like an overripe fruit. If I moved a moment later, that would have killed me. It feels like I've driven him into a corner, but being unilaterally attacked while his very existence is erased is not good. But, as long as I can get through this, he should truly be out of options. 751. Darkness that swallows light. Human-faced spiders are closing in around me, but I can't afford any attention for them. The moment I lose focus, Bal's Dimension Claw will come flying. I fly around, desperately searching for a space that feels wrong. The ground beneath me suddenly gouges open. It's his Dimension Claw. I send a Dimension Claw in the direction of the claw marks, but there's no feeling of hitting anything. Don't panic. Feline Alibi isn't without weaknesses. The skill description mentioned a massive MP cost. There was also the weakness that Bal revealed himself. Was a feeling of unease produced by the folded space. Is it because you also have space-type skills? Even with my power, can I not control it perfectly? Those were Bal's words. My previous evolution, the Aneros, was specialized for manipulating space. Dimension Claw was able to hit him, and it wouldn't be strange if I've gained an ability to sense his Feline Alibi through my time as an Aneros. At the very least, the presence concealment of Feline Alibi isn't perfect. Bal also doesn't seem to have complete control over his skill. Even if I only noticed him due to a mistake of his, it sounded like he distrusted the skill from the start. This skill definitely has weaknesses. Think. Any idea will do. At this rate I'll be killed without being able to fight back at all. With a loud crack, the ground in front of me splits open. It seems I've somehow dodged another Dimension Claw. But, before I can feel any relief, 2 magic spheres appear in front of me, Fire Sphere and Aquasphere. No. Bal's aim was to cut off my movement with Dimension Claw, to guarantee that the steam explosion would hit me. The point-blank blast engulfs me, scalding my body and blowing me backwards. Feline Alibi should be burning through his MP at a fast rate. He also didn't seem to have a lot of confidence in it, so he'll want to do something to end this before the drawbacks become apparent. Where will he come from? If I was Bal, I'd aim for a blind spot. Behind me? No. Above? Below? Suddenly, an idea strikes me. If Dimension Claw can hit him, then other skills might work too. I have a skill that I got when I evolved into an Aneros, one that affects a wide area and can cross dimensions. It's not certain, but if any of my skills can fight back against Feline Alibi, it'll be this one. Gravity. A magic circle of black light expands out from me. Gravity is itself a distortion of space, so it might be able to interfere with other dimensions. I think it might be something I heard in my previous life. I'm betting on this reaching Bal. The space in front of me feels wrong. My gravitational field has caught something invisible. I charge forward, pushing past the human-faced spiders while releasing a Dimension Claw. Space appears to distort, tracing Bal's outline. The distortion resolves as Baal fully appears. Impossible. How have I? The next moment, my claw strikes his human face. So stubborn. Can't you die already? I quickly strike Baal again with my other foreleg. His human face is further deformed. That is my line. You might have exposed me, but I allowed you to close the distance. My strength will overwhelm you. Baal. Two huge bestial arms punch my face from either side. My eyeball is crushed, my jaw broken, and my fang torn away. Before the impact can knock me back, I direct the gravity onto me to fix myself in place. Right away, I strike again with my claws. The toad's tongue wraps around my right foreleg. I duck down to dodge their severing thread that follows. I pull with my right foreleg to drag him towards me as I strike at his tongue with my left. At the same time, I cast Cositus, producing a magic circle aimed at his body. Baal lunges away from there, Cositus, dragging me along with his tongue. I kick off the ground and slam my tail into his body, knocking him back into the magic circle. Part of his toad head and half of his legs are trapped by the sudden ice and frozen over. Baal vanishes, and my foreleg is released. He used feline alibi to escape there, Cositus. But there's no chance of me losing track of him when he uses it right in front of me. The way he'll move, I can guess without even using gravity. Aiming at the empty space, I fire a dimension claw. Blood spurts, and the space twists in the shape of his outline, followed quickly by him reappearing. How did you know? You really weren't taking this fight seriously at the start, were you? Once you lost your leeway, your movements became more and more predictable. You're good at trampling insects, but you can't cope with a life and death struggle. I slam a clenched fist into Baal's face. He takes the hit straight on. His body is knocked flying from the impact and hits the ground hard. My body's also nearing its limits. My mana output is no longer stable. Auto-regeneration is slowing down. Ayashia, species, apocalypse condition, normal LV, 156 175 HP, 5549 14018 MP, 2942 11345. But Baal is even closer to his limit. The evil absolute sovereign, species, Baal condition, spirit LV, 180 180, lock, max, HP, 3252 20805 MP, 1573 14609. The fight's practically over already. His MP is down to 10%. Impossible. I am an absolute being. I cannot be defeated here. Baal's frog head is half crushed by frostbite. His legs and the area around the frog head are black with necrosis, so he should be barely able to move now. Sitting on your throne as the strongest and scratching your ass was your biggest weakness. What we carry is different. I'll beat that difference into you. You, who bend the knee to God's voice so you could carry on living for your own enjoyment, and me, who is getting stronger so I can take him down. I kick off the ground, leaping towards Baal. What we carry is different, you say. His cat head looks up at me. The unfocused eyes glare at me. But his expression is not one of anger or resignation. It is an expression that makes me feel the bottomlessness of his malevolence. I acknowledge you, dragon. I should have fought with all my power from the start. My mana is too low now. So this feeling, this fear, is what I have given to the world all this time. How wonderful. But I will be the one to win. Baal produces a magic circle. A wall of black light envelops his body. The black light forms into a complete sphere, appearing almost like the black moon of the lunar eclipse. I know this skill. Normal skill, eclipse the magic of darkness that eats away at the world of light. With mana strengthened to the limit, it even causes the rules of the world to waver. Any land touched by the black light of eclipse will be violated by a death curse for all eternity. A darkness that consumes the light. But I had thought he would never use this skill. That is because using it now will only drive him further into a corner. There, eclipse sphere cannot be broken easily. It saturates the surrounding area in randomly fired beams of the strongest darkness magic, providing simultaneously the ultimate sword and shield. However, it can be dealt with simply by keeping distance from the caster. The reason it was such a threat when Mia used against me, it was because I was trapped with her in a tower. It doesn't make sense for Baal to use it in this situation. No, I finally understand his aim. If you say you carry more than me, then let us see you try to stop this. He intends to destroy the entire city with Eclipse. If I were to run away, I could escape. But he's taking all of Auburn as a hostage against me, forcing me into trying to destroy the protection of Eclipse. I learned how difficult that was in my fight against Mia. That time, Driant's counter skill sent the Eclipse beam back into it, but he's not here this time. Baal wants to see me destroy myself as I futilely try to break past the Eclipse. If you try to break my Eclipse, you'll fall to my darkness. If you throw down your burdens and run away, that's fine too. Once you've lost your convictions, I'll slaughter you easily. So, what will you do? Are those the actions of the strongest? Of course. It is because I will use any means that I am an absolute being. Now, be devoured like the annoying speck of light that you are. It's the worst form of final struggling. My Dimension Claw hardly made a dent in Mia's Eclipse. The slightest touch will cause the darkness curse to wreck my body. It's impossible, and I can't afford to die in vain here. If I were to abandon Auburn now, I should be able to kill Baal for certain. He boasted that I wouldn't be able to defeat him once I'd thrown away my convictions, but his HP and MP are both almost empty. With the voracious cost of Eclipse, he shouldn't have anything left to fight with once I return. Baal also knows that once I escape, he'll probably stop the haphazard attack right away. In the first place, this city is already in a state of near destruction. The human-faced spiders have laid waste to it, and the shockwaves of our fight have flattened the nearby buildings. Even Eclipse won't make much of a difference now. I'm not going to be able to persuade myself out of this though, am I? I kick off the ground, leaping straight up. I look at the Eclipse sphere far down below me. Using Dragon Mirror, I turn my forelegs into arms. Ideal weapon. A light appears in my hand. Normal skill. Ideal weapon, a magic skill that allows the user's ideal weapon to be drawn from the world of dreams. The weapon's abilities depend heavily on the strength of the user's magic, and on the skill level. Mana is continuously consumed while in use. Once the weapon leaves the user's hands, it disappears. The light transforms into a jagged dark red greatsword. Sword of Revelation, value L+, upper legendary attack, plus 666. A greatsword made from the scales and fangs of the dragon who will cause the end of the world. That dragon's evil soul is sealed inside, causing those struck to be engulfed in the flames of hell. With my maximum firepower, I'll break through their Eclipse shell. I don't know if I can do it. But, if I don't make a stand here, I'll no longer be me. Even without Baal pointing it out, I understand myself best. I can easily imagine that, after abandoning so many people to die, I won't be able to fight properly. If I don't fight now, I'd lose to Baal in the end anyway. I dive straight down. As I dive, I activate gravity 3 times, causing a ball of black light to surround me and increasing the speed of my fall. Beams of black light shoot up from their Eclipse sphere. I swerve, dodging them by paper-thin margins. Idiot. You really came. You think you're carrying the world on your shoulders? Ridiculous. It's because you believe such nonsense that you're going to lose. I am fighting for my sake alone. That is why I am strong. You can't beat me. Flash that drives away the darkness. Normal skill. Flash that drives away the darkness. The sword is coated in holy light to cut the enemy. Before this flash, all deception is meaningless. All forms of damage reduction or nullification from resistance skills, characteristic skills, normal skills, or special conditions are ignored to deal massive damage to the target. The blade shines with light, illuminating the darkness of the Eclipse, and drowning it out. I swing down, slicing through the sphere. I can clearly see a fracture of light running through the sphere's surface. But, the next moment, I feel an immense backlash throughout my body that sends me flying backwards. The sword flies from my hand. Then, a huge explosion occurs. My consciousness flickers. I'm just barely able to stay standing. My wings and chunks of my body are torn off, and all I can feel is pain. In front of me, Baal is lying on the ground. His 8 legs are scattered and burned. What happened? I did all I could. Am I really no match for this dragon? I did it. I broke through Baal's Eclipse, head on. I catch my breath as I run towards him. I kick off the ground to leap up and drive my claws into his human face. 752- The cat that is not there. My claws cut through Bal's face. His flesh tears, splattering blood. Bal's human face screams as its eyes roll backwards. His body splits in two, spilling brains and entrails onto the ground. His body begins to shine with a pale light as it fades away. I stand and watch Bal's disappearing body. Finally, I've finally defeated the strongest monster. It should be over now. And yet, a strange feeling of tension is overwhelming me. Why have I still not received the experience points? Spirit servants still grant experience points. I've confirmed this several times already. The only possibilities I can think of are that God's voice summoned Bal back at the last moment, or else, he's still alive. Suddenly, I sense Bal behind me. I spin around, readying my claw. I see, so this is how it is. A refreshing feeling. I understand everything now. I see a giant cat wearing a crown. The cat's head is unmistakably Bal's third head. But unlike before, its bright red eyes are staring fixedly at me, without the usual restless movement. Glancing back, I see Bal's body still disappearing and wrapped in light. But the cat head is no longer there. This must be Tail Shed of the War God. Normal skill. Tail Shed of the War God discards an unnecessary part of the body to act as a decoy. The enemy's eyes are deceived, and a large amount of HP is recovered. This skill disappears once used. You're the main body? I had thought it was strange. His spider legs should have had the full weight of his attack stat behind them, and yet his bestial arms were much stronger. Besides, it seemed like he wanted to hide those arms. Now that I can see they're a part of his main body, it makes sense. Now that I think about it, Bal's species explanation didn't make any mention of his being a spider monster at all. His plan was to toy with me while keeping his trump card of feline absence in reserve. So it makes sense that he would also want to mislead me about the nature of his body, so he can avoid a fatal wound in an emergency. Just how dirty can his fighting style be? I had thought his telepathy was coming from his human head, but because all of his eyes were so unfocused, I couldn't use their lines of sight to tell which head was the main one. But at this point, it's just vain struggling on his part. Even with his HP recovered, his MP is almost all gone. He's also lost 2 heads worth of firepower. I'm grateful, Dragon. In my long life, not once had I felt fear. This is the first time I have fought on equal footing. That is why I had not noticed the fact that I was a still immature incomplete being. What are you saying? A chill runs down my spine. Now, after thousands of years, for the first time in my life, my thirst for power has grown so strong that it is nearly maddening. My skills were so untested was because I had never faced a wall that I needed to risk my soul to overcome. Now that I have cast away my unnecessary flesh, my body is as it should be. I have reached the truth. Now, I have become the very concept of the strength incarnate. For all eras, in all worlds, I will reign eternal as the undefeated absolute being. He's lost his mind. What is he even saying? He wasn't quite sane before. But now it feels like he's turned into another being entirely, both in body and mind. It is a pity. There will never again be another to fight me as an equal. I will show you, Dragon, the absolute power that I have obtained. Bal kicks off the ground, pouncing towards me. He's even faster than before, but the speed isn't leagues above that of his spider body. I should still be able to respond. The evil absolute sovereign, species, Bal condition, Spirit LV, 180 lock, max, HP, 9807 20805 MP, 1322 14609. Even with some of his HP recovered, and even if he's discovered something, it doesn't change the fact that his MP is almost empty. I still have a significant advantage. With 2 heads missing, he can only make straightforward attacks. A multi-headed monster loses access to some of its skills if it loses a head. At least, that's how it was for me as an Ouroboros. Bal can no longer cast parallel magic in a simple fistfight. The mana I have available for auto-regeneration will make a huge difference. After all, an equal exchange of damage works in my favor. As long as I can hit back, auto-regeneration should swing the battle for me. I produce a Curse Knight magic circle. The tracking effect of Curse Knight allows me time it for the moment we enter close combat, which should create an opening. Even after seeing my magic circle, Baal continues to charge without flinching. I jump towards Baal as I activate the prepared magic. 4 lights rise from the magic circle, each of them forming the shape of an inhuman knight. The 4 knights gallop through the air, each of them marking towards Baal from different directions. It is unnecessary, but for your sake, I shall reveal the truth that I have reached. Baal doesn't react to the curse knights. All 4 impact his body and explode, engulfing his body in a blaze of pale fire. Baal howls in pain. His skin burns away, scattering droplets of dark blood. What is he doing? With his physical ability, it should certainly have been able to avoid at least some of them. He could have even used feline alibi to disappear before they hit. Why would he intentionally receive an attack right in front of me? No, there's nothing to be gained by hesitating. I should seize this opportunity. Pushing past my unease, I swing my claw to strike the stunned Baal. My claw cuts cleanly through his neck. His head falls to the ground, the rest of his body collapsing limply. An abrupt tremor runs through Baal's head and body, shaking the very space they occupy. Then, they vanish. An illusion skill. No, that's impossible. I should be completely immune to illusions. Suddenly, a claw rakes through my back. I'm pushed to the ground, all my bones creaking with stress. I don't understand what happened, but I need to respond. I don't have time to fix my posture. I roll forwards, then kick off the ground, and glance behind me at Baal. He's not chasing me. Instead, he's standing on the roof of a building that looks like a temple. The burns from there, curse knights, and the cut to his neck are both gone without trace. My body is so light. I finally understand. That spider body was a test imposed on me. It was a shackle to bind me. This body is so comfortable and easy to move. Now that I have cast away those 2 repugnant heads, I have reached my true form. My ability to use these 2 skills after thousands of years is proof. Give your adulation, dragon, for the birth of the war god who will reign supreme for all time. 2 skills that he couldn't control for thousands of years. One of them must have been feline alibi. He seemed uncomfortable using it before. The other is probably choice of the quantum cat. Normal skill, choice of the quantum cat overwrites the user's state with a potential existence from a diverged world. Activation consumes a large amount of MP. It's a mysterious skill he hasn't used until now. Apparently, he hadn't been able to control it until now. After being pushed the closest to defeat that he had ever been, he became able to use it by cutting off the unnecessary parts of his body. The explanation is rather abstract, but from what just happened, my guess is that he can cancel out any attack he receives and teleport to wherever he wants. My wormhole skill is crying, with its long casting time, short range, and telegraph target. It's clear he took my attack intentionally. He must have wanted to show off his skill, or perhaps to confirm that he can use it. But I doubt he'll let me hit him so easily another time. I'll have no choice but to spend a lot of MP on my attacks to ensure they land, only for him to then cancel them out with choice of the quantum cat, and hit me with an unavoidable counter. It's a hideously unfair technique, but it shouldn't be completely impossible for me to win. The evil absolute sovereign, species, Baal condition, spirit LV, 180 lock, max, HP, 9921 20805 MP, 1014 14609. His MP has fallen further. He can use choice of the quantum cat 3 more times at most. I'm glad he wasn't like this from the start. If he had access to such an unfair skill back when he was in perfect condition, I wouldn't have stood a chance. It's probably true that, should I fail to kill Baal now, there will never be another divine skill holder who can beat him. But, there are 2 problems. The first is that he's gained a use of such a troublesome skill, as well as a body more powerful than his last. Your awakening came too late, damn cat. A bluff of confidence. To defeat the likes of you, I won't even require this skill again. The second problem is that defeat is no longer in Baal's mind now that he's gained a new body. His confidence is no longer shaken at all. 753 Witness the power that I have obtained. Baal is pouncing towards me. I begin casting Curse Knight, while raising my claws. But, I have no idea how to respond. Even if I manage to completely win an exchange, he'll use choice of the quantum cat, to cancel it out and then hit me with an unavoidable attack again. It's almost inevitable that I'll take a massive amount of damage in retaliation. I have no choice but to bear this in mind, but as a result, I'll inevitably keep second-guessing everything I do. Suddenly, a tremor seems to run through Bal, and he disappears. He's using Feline Alibi again. The MP cost is high, so I had thought he might not use it again, but he seems to be using it like it's nothing. The next moment, a blow strikes the back of my head. My consciousness flickers. Another claw hits my back, and I haphazardly release the Curse Knights. As I twist around, the 4 pale knights charge towards Bal. But he doesn't show any sign of avoiding them. At the moment of contact, his outline shakes and he appears to dissolve into the space. The knights pass through where he stood, then he quickly rematerializes. His control of Feline Alibi has improved. He kept the MP cost low by waiting until the last moment. He's charging towards me again. What should I do? If I use a lot of MP on my attacks, then even if it hits he'll just escape by overlaying a different world with Choice of the Quantum Cat. A huge number of scenarios play out in my head, but in none of them can I find a way of gaining an advantage. Regardless, I need to do something to keep Bal in check before he reaches me. At this rate my auto-regeneration won't be able to keep up. I fire a Dimension Claw, but by the time I complete my swing, he has already jumped up above where I targeted. I look up, but he's not there. That's impossible. Panicked, I search for Bal, only for him to suddenly appear right in front of me. He threw me off by disappearing the moment he was out of my sight. Unable to block, I receive his claws with my chest. I'm thrown into the air as Bal's tail swings down to hit me with a follow-up attack. A huge shock runs through my body, and I realize I've been thrust down onto the ground. I can't win. If I keep taking hits like this, my MP will hit 0 in no time. This was exactly the kind of scenario I needed to avoid. Just as Bal declared, I can't even force him to use Choice of the Quantum Cat. Part of it is that I can't afford to go all out in my attacks, but his physical abilities have also increased in his new body, and his ability to fluidly use Feline Alibi is incredibly difficult to deal with. I was so close. Just one more push would have been enough. So why did he have to get so much stronger at the last moment? I thought you would cling on a little longer, but it seems this is all you have. Bal looks down at me. Gravity. I stand up, spreading a field of ultra-high gravity around me. Gravity is my only way of countering Feline Alibi. It should make it harder for him to move, but also allow me to sense his location. The MP cost isn't too severe either. The cost isn't 0, but in this situation I've no choice but to rely on gravity to even create a situation where I can fight him in hand-to-hand combat. So that's your answer? You think you can oppose my skill with that? Bal speaks, then disappears again. Before I can find him with gravity, he reappears behind me and knocks me flying with a claw attack to my back. Immediately, I receive an uppercut to my chin. My fangs break and my mouth fills with blood. Without rest, an attack comes from my left, then from my right. My healing can't keep up. Just barely, I manage to sink my broken fangs into Bal's foreleg. He disappears, and my fangs pass through empty space. As my jaw clamps shut, Bal's tail slams into my side. I tumble across the ground. My body feels heavy. My mind is foggy. What's wrong? Fight back. Show me your final brilliance. Are there no skills I can use? I can't resist it all at this rate. Do I have no choice but to use my one-time use, Butterfly Dream? No, it had garbled characters in its description. There's a good chance it's a time bomb that God's voice set for me. Besides, even if I revive with HP and MP restored, I'm not confident I can beat Bal as he is now. I can't let this situation continue. I need a strategy to resist him. I could use roll to buy time. No, that's pointless. It would give Bal time to recover his MP, increasing the number of times he can use Choice of the Quantum Cat. I could cover a large area with Hellgate, but the cost to me would be too high, and with Bal's speed he could probably escape easily. He could also just negate the damage entirely with Choice of the Quantum Cat. I'll use Dite and Cositus as needed, but he can avoid them with Feline Alibi. Their MP cost is also significant. Is there nothing I can do? No matter how I think of it, all the skills I've used before seem completely powerless in the face of Bal's ability. Then, a skill that I haven't used before. Normal skill, Doomsday Tone breaks down the user's health and mana to boost attack power and speed. However, the user's reason is also broken down, causing them to fall into a frenzied state. The frenzy will not abate until everything in sight is reduced to nothing. Even after ending, it is highly likely that some mental changes will persist. When activated, the force of the mana leaving the user's body causes a strange sound to be heard, appearing to be coming from far away. According to the Holy God religion, when the divine messengers use instruments to signal the end of the world, the sound produced will be the same as this skill. There it is, a skill that I've never used, that might give me the power to stand up to Baal. This is the center of the royal capital. Is it okay for me to use such a dangerous skill here? Various thoughts pass through my mind. Do I have any other options? I'm already on the verge of death, so even after defeating Baal I probably won't have the energy to go on a rampage. Can I even win with this skill? All it does is raise my physical abilities. I won't be able to use precise tactics. No, against the current Baal, tactics won't make much difference. What I need is an overwhelming power advantage. If I lose, this city will be destroyed by Baal. The Magic Best King is still rampaging in Noah's forest. If I don't defeat Baal here, will anyone else ever be able to fulfill Mia's dearest wish and free this world from God's voice? That's just an excuse to me, isn't it? Suddenly, Aro and Triant's faces pass through my mind. Right now, those two should be buying time against the Magic Beast King, trusting that I'll come to help. I can't afford to fall here. Time to end this. Baal is running towards me. I activate Doomsday Tone. An incredible power surges up from inside me. My mind feels calm. Emptiness fills my mind. My vision is dyed redder and redder as my ability to think fades away. A dark light starts to leak out from my body. The mana leaving my body shakes the air and the ground, creating a strange sound. The sound is almost like that of a set of discordant trumpets. I can clearly see Baal's movements. You still had another trick left. A strange skill, but if it was useful, you would have already used it. This is meaningless struggling. If you think you can oppose me with that skill, then I'd like to see you try. Baal leaps off the ground, pouncing towards me. He disappears, then reappears the next moment beside me. I swing with the back of my claw, knocking him away. His body flies through the air, but he quickly digs his claws into the ground to regain his posture. I see, so it raises your physical ability at a cost as a last resort. Seeing your continued struggle is most amusing. I won't have another real fight for thousands of years, so I am glad for the chance to test my new body a little longer. Note: we are waiting more for chapters. It will take a while, so wait for now.